I think when I first started off, I was doing, like 80 hours a week was almost like.
Hi, I'm Henry, and I'm here today with Winnie, and we're going to chat accounting. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
How long have you been working in accounting and whereabouts?
I've actually been in accounting since I graduated from college, so it's been almost 9 years now. I started off my career at Anderson Tax, PwC, OpenTable, and now back at PwC.
What's the difference between tax and audit?
Audit is really basically independent third-party verification that a company's financial statements are accurate and fair, right? Because I think as an investor or just the general public, if you are depending on these financial statements to make financial decisions, you want to have some security that these are fair statements that you're basing your decisions on. And tax is really, it's tax. Everyone files their taxes, right? So even on an individual level, April 15th, everyone knows that date, got to file your taxes. But not just individuals, but corporations, right? Estates, trusts, a lot of different entities have to file taxes, and there's a lot of rules and regulations that accompany that, along with just structuring and having, investments abroad or internally. So that is all taxes, whereas like audit is more the financial statement part, and broadly audit and tax are public accounting as a whole. But there is a distinction, and I think people never really pick up on that. So I'm in tax and not audit.
Interesting. So when it comes to taxes, the client pays you to do their taxes, whereas auditing, a client would pay you to audit their financial statements.
Yeah, exactly. Our clients in public accounting, we serve the clients to help comply, right, in tax. So forms, different jurisdictions have different forms. The higher up you are, kind of, if you're like a manager, a director, or a partner in a public accounting firm, for tax, you do help a lot with like more consulting-based questions. If they have questions about structuring or just sales of assets, things like that. And yeah, to your point, exactly. Then on the audit side, kind of like your Google and your Facebook, right? You hire like, I don't know, PwC or EY or Deloitte to come in and conduct the audit of your financials.
What does the career path look like? Do most people stay in like the Big Four, or do they move on to do something else?
I see both frequently. There's kind of the group I see that, I guess I call them lifers, right? You kind of start in public and you go all the way to partner, and partner is really the highest level, if you will, at a public accounting firm, because that essentially means you're a partner of, because public accounting firms are partnerships. So if you become a partner, essentially you are now, a part owner of the partnership. So I see those lifers, just full career within a public accounting firm. And then I see those that couple years, spanning from 2 years to maybe 5, 6, 7 years, and then go out. So I see both. I think both are common.
For those people who don't stay in public accounting, what might be some of the reasons why they leave?
The hours are not the best in public accounting. We go through things called busy seasons. So depending on whether you're an audit or tax, that looks differently. But there are particular times of the year where the workload is just very heavy. Some people just think they want to step out of that, and that's kind of one of the main reasons why they leave. But I think other reasons are not necessarily tied to public, right? It's just maybe career path choice, just kind of divulges, or interests and passions are different. So I think similarly to other professions, people just move for different reasons.
You mentioned like busy seasons.
Mm-hmm.
When does that happen?
For tax, it's twice a year. So the April, for corporations, there's a March 15th deadline. But April, March is one big deadline. So kind of from January to then, like that couple of months, we call it the first busy season. And then you can file for extensions, which I think a lot of individuals may not do, at least kind of in my friend group, no one really files extensions. But a lot of our clients do file extensions. So then therefore your returns are pushed out actually to September, October timeframe. So around July, August till then, that's another busy season. So we kind of have 2 a year in tax. And it really averages out to like 6 months, so it's really half the year.
And how many hours are you working during those months?
I think when I first started off, I was doing, like 80 hours a week was almost like, yeah. The goal is, as you kind of progress in your career, you're not supposed to be putting as much hours in that. You're supposed to be focusing more of your time on like managing the clients, like business development, like getting more clients, things like that. Not to say that they're not putting in hours. I think the hours shift to different tasks. And therefore, since you're not doing kind of the menial things, it's not supposed to be as high volume of hours, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Can you walk me through like the different levels within like PwC or KPMG?
So everyone kind of comes in as an associate. So you're just from college, usually you come in and you're a tax associate in my team, let's say. Generally speaking, the associate does do a lot of your basic prep. We call it preparation for compliance, right? And compliance is really like your tax forms, like all the kind of things you have to file with the regulatory agencies. It's a lot of gathering information from your clients. So we call them PBCs, provided by client. So it's a lot of getting PBCs, right? Kind of sifting through that, making sure you have the information that you need to fill out the forms correctly. It's prepping, we call them work papers. They're usually in Excel. It's essentially, we do our calculations, we run through income, deductions, taxable rates, and all those things to make sure that we get to a number that, we all agree with that will be filed with the agency. After associate is senior, we call them senior associates, and they usually do a first level of review. So in public accounting, it's very review-based. We'll have an associate prep, a senior will usually review, and obviously be a resource for the associate. Questions, like either regulatory questions or just like how do we do this work paper questions, there should be like that first level of resource. Above a senior is a manager, and obviously, just they usually will review after a senior has reviewed. So by then it should be a little bit more like the higher level questions of like maybe how should we structure this, or like how should we treat this sale of an asset. Above a manager is a director, and then above a director is a partner.
And then at the director or partner level, what are they kind of focused on?
They definitely have a heavy focus on business development, right? Client relationships. That's, as a director, especially if your end goal is a partner, you really need to start showing the firm that you can pull in, like retain clients, right? Like make sure you are a good business advisor for any questions that they have. And then also being able to be out there in the market and basically pull clients, if you will, right? Like basically showing that, hey, why would they want to work for you? You are a good business advisor, you can provide the answers, and you basically can have that connection.
Now, it's kind of shifting back to you. How did you get into accounting?
It's not really like a story. It's really just I was in college. I was majoring in econ actually, and a good friend of mine was taking an accounting class, and she was like, just come take it with me. So I was like, okay. And literally that's kind of how I started going into accounting. I think also in deciding kind of like what I wanted to do after college, I was still a little bit unclear, and accounting is kind of like it's not like a obscure, vague thing. It's very like, yeah, like you said, there's the Big Four out there, they're hiring, like, it's not a rare job. So I think I just kind of fell into it that way.
Who should do accounting?
I would say accounting is a fairly high structured profession. I think so. If you're someone who likes structure, I think this would be more in line with you. There's a phrase I heard recently being thrown around kind of in the tech companies where it's a comfort with ambiguity, right? And I like that term, but I think in accounting, there's not necessarily ambiguity, or there is, but you should kind of still reach an answer to file your tax forms. You can't just be like, question mark. So I would say someone who likes structure, and also someone who is more timeline oriented, just given that there are a lot of deadlines with, the IRS and all the different jurisdictions. You have to be aware of all these impending deadlines and manage your time accordingly.
Cool. Thank you, Winnie, for sharing all your insight about working at Big Four and accounting.
No problem. Thanks for having me.